Hello and welcome back to Rage Gaming. My name is Hollow and today I'm happy to be talking a little bit more Horizon Forbidde West. Since we've been wanting to make something in prep for the release of the game that's upcoming early next year, and with the various gameplay reveals going on, we've seen not only some really cool worlds and combat stuff, but of course the many machines. Because the machines are looking very good this time around, especially considering one of the main desires I had for this sequel would be a greater variety, a bigger pool of enemies to actually work against. I want new designs, and I want much more engaging combat encounters. And if they can make them exciting and scary too, well, that would be great. And so far, I think the devs have actually been fulfilling that concept with their greater roster of machines we've seen. So we're going to talk about that and more today. But before we do get into the new machines revealed, I just want to get straight to the good part. Very recently at the Game Awards, we had this 1-minute trailer showing us various combat sort of snippets into each other. There was this rotation of moment to moment going on, which would set up a totally new environment for only a few seconds where we're wearing new equipment, new gear, and facing off a different enemy entirely. I thought for a showcase that was only 1 minute, gave us a way to see all kinds of new stuff at once, and it was generally really well made. And I found out that that's largely because of Suhi Legend, whose Twitter account is very popular for making cool gameplay clips, basically appreciating the details of combat in different games. Now it seems like that person is working with companies directly to help them create really cool gameplay trailers. And I honestly couldn't think of anyone better to do that kind of thing. So yeah, huge congrats to them. But anyway, back on point. The snake. This snake reveal, as short as it was, had us looking up this huge snake machine that was sort of coiling and wrapping around a big pillar. Josh made a very good point. This new machine is actually pretty familiar in its design, even the way that it is wrapping around that pillar. Older Monster Hunter fans might know where I'm going with this, and that's of course a Dalamadur. If we take a look at the original reveal of the Dalamadur back from Monster Hunter 4, I think you might see what I mean. Giant snakes aren't exactly completely unique, but it is a very good and scary concept for an enemy that you've got to fight. If you think about a regular snake, the speed at which one can move, the precision that it's going to bite and snap or move around, and then you combine that with a massive scale of one of these huge ones, and even the massive space that you'll be confined to if they're encircling you in that, well, I think it's a good choice. With that, something we're really hoping for with this sequel is some proper large-scale fights with the new machines. We've seen a good example of that with the Tremor Tusk, as we'll talk about later. That's the mammoth machine that we saw in the 20-minute showcase gameplay thing. And obviously, as a Monster Hunter channel, we like Monster Hunter fights. We want more of that sort of feeling to it. You got to take into consideration as well, things are not going to work the same in Forbidden West with the combat as we know it. The devs have actually talked about this directly, basically saying that the machines are going to be much more threatening to deal with this time, which is why we're also seeing all of these new combat options to give us lots of ways to actually manage the different situations that we're going to be in. And that sounds very promising to me, so hopefully we'll see some more boss fight feeling encounters, those Monster Hunter moments. And with the release coming up in only a couple months, hopefully we'll see more of that snake. Alright, so as I mentioned, there's a pretty good selection of entirely new machines revealed to buff out that variety. While we have seen a few returning machines so far, there is at least 8 new ones revealed to us so far, so let's go through that list. As we do though, I want one extra detail to mention, all about machine types. In the original, there was a sort of main 4 types you'd see: acquisition, recon, combat, and transport. Acquisition would be your classic resource gatherer types, who harvest resources as sort of their main function. Their designs as such were often seen as herbivores. Recon are your Overwatch styles, ones that'll seek out threats and sort of be sentinels. Combat types are, I would say, the most known. They're the distinctive predator designs. Hunters, like the stalkers from the original game. And finally, we have the transport types. Those are the big ones, the hulking machines that you would see carrying cargo, like the shell walkers. So with those types in mind, let's go through the machines and work out which they are. First up, the Bristlebacks. These are giant warthog types, and they were one of the original new machines since we saw it in the original cinematic trailer for Forbidden West. It was being overridden by this unknown tribe at the time, but now as we know, that tribe is basically using machines for war. Clearly this big fellow will be useful for that, and I would say as a machine warthog, it's a pretty straightforward design. Not too exciting, but let's at least work out what type it is. Is this combat or transport? It's definitely big enough to haul some stuff around, but I feel like if they're capturing it, it'll be used for war, so maybe combat. Second then, we'll talk about the CLAMBERJAWS. These are much more interesting in design to me, since they're super agile monkey machines. We had a look at these only recently during that Game Awards trailer, but we also have information about them from a new series on their Twitter page that gives us information about specific machines, which has just started up, and they started with the CLAMBERJAWS. Apparently, they're going to use their claws and tails to salvage scrap, which makes me think they must be an acquisition type, although obviously they're able to fight. We're told that they're also able to easily cling to terrain and climb up things, which makes sense, and their main attack type is actually going to be debilitation, so probably not something you want to get hit by. I guess they're going to concuss us. Either way, they're fighting in a huge pack here, and generally I think the design of this one's much more fun. Third for our new machines then, the CLAWSTRIDERS. Those are the robot velociraptors, which also seem to work in packs, as we saw them doing in that 20-minute gameplay showcase. Through that whole video, these guys were hunting and searching for threats, while we, the player, were evading their notice through various methods of stealth. So that makes me think they must be more of a recon type. And while the design is not completely unique, you know, robot raptors, I still think they're pretty cool. I think they look very good, and they have these really interesting chainsaw jaws, which is definitely not something I would want to be bitten by, sawed by. Since they are the right shape for it though, we do see our player override one and then actually use it as a mount, which is probably going to be a great and important method of travel. Next, the big boys. These are the SHELLSNAPPERS. Huge turtle machines that we saw in that first trailer, which seem to surprise us through a sort of unexpected ambush moment. Since they're so dormant, they actually have moss and stuff growing out of their shells, so they must stay in place for a long time. So we'll probably need to pay close attention to our surroundings whenever in, say, a swamp. They're also one of the more amphibious machines we've seen, so I'm not sure we'll see them only in swamps. But what type are the SHELLSNAPPERS, do you think? Transport because they're big and can carry cargo, or more like recon because I guess they're technically guarding areas in this ambush style. Alright, one of my favorites is next then. These are the SUNWINGS. They've been popping up all over the trailers as sort of the main flying type we're seeing. They're basically machine pterosaurs, continuing the dino machine concept. I love their design. Something as simple as their wings being, you know, literal solar panels, which they'll use to power them to fly for longer, is really cool to me. Visually striking, mechanically cool, I really like them. And for sure, this has got to be a recon type, right? Next, the TIDERIPPERS. The amphibious machines are back again. While yes, we do see some crocs, they're back in full force and probably going to be much more relevant since we're doing underwater stuff now. We also have these massive plesiosaur types to deal with as well. It might even remind you a bit of Lagiacrus's design if you're a Monster Hunter fan. Probably the closest we're going to get to actually fighting Lagia anywhere underwater in a new game. They say this guy is not only dangerous underwater, but also in land, so I guess he'll chase us if we escape to land from water, but I do imagine we're going to encounter them the most, while of course swimming. Moving on to the Tremotusks then. These are the giant machine mammoths we've seen in various trailers, but was also the main enemy during the 20-minute gameplay showcase. We watched this monstrous beast smash through terrain like it's nothing, tank a lot of hits, felt very much like a big boss fight, and it even has a little outpost on its back as well, which gives the humans on top direct control over the Tremotusk, having it fire cannons from its side or blasts from the front, almost like a warship. It can also fire literal fire from its trunk. Overall, this looked like a satisfying fight with a lot of the terrain destruction going on, the fact that you can destroy the outpost on the back entirely, the new techniques that you can do to slow it down or, you know, make it fall over. This feels like a dedicated monster or boss fight with weak points to attack, while of course avoiding its different attack patterns. So if this is what they meant by more threatening machines, well, I think this is a really good direction. Finally though, the last new machine I've managed to spot so far is obviously the giant snake. We don't know the name for it yet, obviously, but hopefully it makes for a good spectacle of a fight when we do finally see some gameplay with it. But there you have it, the new machines we've seen in the Forbidden West trailer so far. Are you happy with these? I would say at least half or more of the new machines are pretty exciting conceptually, and I was very impressed by the mechanics of the Tremotusk fight itself. While all the new options and gadgets and stuff that we have as the player are cool, I want to see more spectacle style encounters with machines, and the Tremotusk was exactly that. We still have a lot more to see though. I believe the original had something like 20 or 25 machines, and we've not seen half of that yet. One big question that remains though is how is the underwater combat actually gonna be? We've seen moments of stealth and interesting level design with underwater, in which we've seen currents where we have to avoid them or use them to our advantage to move around underwater areas. But what of actual combat? We know of multiple enemies we're gonna face down there, but all we've seen so far is this tiny clip with a Tide Ripper that charges forward at us, and we just dodge to the side, and that's it. That is hopefully not the depths of the water combat, surely. I really want it to be more than just a gimmick, but you know, an important part of the game. Until we see more though, we will not know, so that is everything for this video. Let me know if I've missed anything, like new machines, or, you know, which types are the new ones if you know them. And drop a like if you'd like to see more Forbidden West videos in the future. But until next time, I've been Hollow, you've been you. Thanks for watching.
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.